Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Maro with Code with Maro. Today we're going to be looking at Dart extensions. Now, extensions were introduced in Dart 2.7 as a way to create extra functionality on top of existing libraries. So you could create more functionality on top of strings, integers, doubles, lists, or whatever you want. So today we're going to be using two examples to illustrate how to use Dart extensions. First, we're going to be getting the initials of a user's name that has been entered. Right. For us to do that, first thing, to create an extension, you type the keyword extension. Now, your extensions can either be named or unnamed. So we're going to name this extension and call it initials. Let's just call it initials. And then we are going to extend it on string. Okay, so this is simply saying that the extension we're creating is something we're going to be extending on strings. That means for the string that's been entered, this is an extra functionality that we're adding to the existing library, which is string. Now, what we're going to do is simply return a string. We're going to return a string and just say initials, right? So to keep it simple, just return initials. Now, first of all, we want to ensure that the name entered we can actually get something from it, right? So we can name this initials first will be an empty string, right? And then, okay, sorry, I need to name this initials. String initials is going to be an empty string. And then when we have a list, we can convert, and then we can convert the string that's going to be entered into a list by splitting it into different parts. Now, what we're going to do now is have a list of strings that we're going to get. We're going to create this list of strings now from the name that's going to be entered by the user. So we'll say entered name, and this will be assigned to this. Now, this refers to the string that has been entered, right? The string that we're creating this extension on. So this dot split. Now, when you split this, you're going to have to put a pattern that you're splitting with. So we're just going to split by the spaces that are provided in the name. So when the user enters the first name, there's also going to be a space before the last name. So split by the space provided. And then when that has happened, we want to loop through every element in that list. So we'll say for final name in entered name. So for every name that's in entered name, we're going to get the first letter of that name and then add it to this initials that we already have as an empty string. So initials now will be assigned to initials now will be we're going to do this and have initials. So this is to ensure that if there's already a letter, it's going to put it into consideration. So initials, and then it's going to also add the first name of the first letter of the name we're currently on. Right, so the first letter is going to have an index of 0, and then that's it. So for every there's an issue here. We need to name this initials. I think if we name this initials, it's going to actually give us an issue. So let's name this initial and then call this initial as well. So if we have this, initial now is assigned to the user's name, the first name of every name, the first letter of every name that we are currently on. Right, so we'll go out of the loop and then we can return initial. So it's as simple as that, right? With this, you'll be able to get the initials of any user, any name that's entered. So we'll come here now to try this. We'll say print. We're going to try with a popular name, Harry Potter. Harry Potter dot initials, right? Now with this, when we run this code, we save this now and come here and type dart play.dart. Oh, okay, so there's a little issue here, right? So we have this as initials and we're trying to do this here too. So we're supposed to add this to make this, put this here and not the initials from here. So we're going to correct that, hit save, and then try running again. Start play dot. And now we have the initials as Harry Potter. Now, the reason why we had to do this with a for loop is to ensure that even if the user has 50 names, we can actually work with all 50 names. So imagine we have Harry Potter Jones, and we hit save and try running. We're going to get back HPJ, which are actually the initials of Harry Potter Jones. So this is one easy way to use that extension. Really quickly again, I'm going to run through what we did here. So we created an extension called initials on string, and then we're returning a string from that extension. Now, first thing we did was to ensure that the initial we're trying to use is an empty string first. We could actually make it nullable, but I prefer using an empty string first. And then the username the name that's been entered is converted into a list by calling this the split. Remember that this refers to the string that's been entered, which we're extending our initials on. And then we use a for loop to go through the name that's been entered, the list that we've created from the name that's been entered. And then for every name in that list, we're taking the first letter and then adding it to what we already have as initial, and then returning initial. And that's how we can actually use that. Now, the next example we'll be looking at is getting the highest and lowest numbers from a list of numbers. Right? So imagine we have a list of numbers. We want to be able to get the lowest number or the highest number. Now, we can actually use that extensions to make that really easy as well. So we're going to create another extension now, right? Create another extension. Remember I said also that extensions can be named or named. So we're going to leave this one as an unnamed extension. We're going to say extension on list of integers. It could be a list of doubles if you're looking for the highest numbers and you expect that there could be a fractional number there, right? So if there's going to be a decimal number, then you use a double. Now, but right now we're going to write our list and ensure that there are no doubles. So we're using a list of integers. Now, first thing is we want to be able to return an integer, which is going to be the highest number, right? So say highest number. And now this, remember that we then have to return an integer from here. So what we're going to do is create a nullable integer and call it highest. Okay. Now the reason why we're doing this is because if we actually assign a number to the highest at first, it's possible that the user is trying to check a list of numbers, and the first number that will come to our heads will probably be 0, right? Now imagine the user is trying to check for negative numbers, then you won't be able to work with that because we already have 0, which is greater than every negative number. So we're going to start with a nullable integer and call it highest. So that means when we have that, we'll then have to be able to assign the highest number to the first element in the list that's going to be sent down to us. So we'll use a for loop again for final number in this. Remember that this now refers to the list of integers that we are extending on, right? So this, and then so for every number in the list of integers that we've been given, we're going to check first if the highest number we have is null, right? Now, if it is null, if highest is null, we're going to assign the first number to it. So since highest is null, we're going to say highest now will be that number that we are currently looking at. All right. Now, what happens when highest is no longer null? Now, when it's no longer null, we're going to be able to confirm if it is higher than the number we're sending in. So check if highest is greater than the number that's been sent in. And if it is, what do? We're going to then assign that highest to itself again. So highest remains the same, so it's not going to change. And then if it is not, we're going to assign highest to that number. Now this works because whether the number is the same as highest or it is greater than highest, than the highest number we currently have, then it's going to replace it. But if it is not, it's going to remain the same. Now we're going to go out of this for loop now and then return highest. Okay. Now you see here it says we cannot return this. So what we're going to do is ensure that it is not null, right? So we're going to return this back to whoever is trying to get the highest number from the list of numbers we've entered. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a list of numbers, list of integers, and call it numbers. And we're just going to put some random numbers, right? We'll start with negative numbers. So -2, -4, -1, 0, -9. All right. So we have this list of numbers, and then we want to get the highest number from all of these. So we could just come here and take this. I will no longer need this. So we're going to say numbers dot highest number. So with this, when you run the code, you're going to get the highest number from that list. So it goes through the list, and you see it tells us that the highest number from the list is 0. And really, when you look at these numbers, you can tell that 0 is the highest number. Now, for us to get the lowest number from the list of numbers we've been given, we can just reverse this, right? So we'll just rename this and call it lowest number, right? All right. So lowest number, and then everywhere we see highest, we're going to put lowest, right? So rename this also and call it lowest. And now what we're simply going to do is check the number that has been sent. Is it less than the current lowest number? If it is not, then assign lowest to itself, right? But if it is, then lowest becomes that number. So all we just needed to do was change this sign, and we're rewriting the whole thing to work in the opposite direction. Now if we save this and we run, it's going to tell us our lowest number here is -9, and -9 really is the lowest number from this list of numbers. So this is how you can add extra functionality to your app or any project you're working on by using data extensions. Now, data extensions also make your work look really fancy. So imagine you're seeing just this wherever you're calling it, and all of this is doing all the work behind the scenes, and it's really fancy, right? So I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And all, thank you very much.